Okay, so you want to take your dog on the road with you, right? Well, there's certain considerations you need to take into account before you decide to bring Fido on the road with you. So this first, I'm probably gonna make a little mini series out of this, but the first thing you need to consider is, is your dog road ready, right? Now, the first thing, I guess, number one to consider is, what company you drive for, what company you're looking to drive for. That was a deciding factor for me, and, Rail has a really good pet policy, and it fit with my dog. My dog lives with me. I don't have a house at home. I don't have an apartment. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I don't have any of that shit. It's just me and my dog. Right? So there is no, if my dog's not with me on the road, there's nowhere else for her to go. I'd have to get rid of her. And I didn't want to get rid of her. So I had to find a company that I could work for that would allow my dog. Now, if you're new to trucking, haven't gotten a trucking yet, you want to take your dog on the road, and you need to do your research. First thing is consider what kind of company you want to drive for. You want to haul dry van, flatbed, reefer, tanker, what do you want to do? A lot of reefer companies not cool with dogs. There are a few of them. Most of them are not. There's very few tanker companies that are okay with dogs, and there's not very many flatbed companies that have pet policies. There's plenty of dry van companies that do, but flatbed companies a little more rare. Tanker companies and reefer companies a lot more rare, just because the kind of places they have to go, chemical plants, and just like if you're food grade, like reefer and food grade tanker, those shippers and receivers typically don't want animals around because it's a health thing, health codes, and you're dealing with food and food grade products. They don't want animals around that shit. And flatbed, it becomes more difficult. A lot of companies just don't allow it because there's a lot of industrial plants and steel mills and different kinds of mills we go to that don't want dogs, don't want cats, don't want any kind of animal. Dry van, it's a lot more lax. But you need to make a list of all the companies that, like, say if you want to go flatbed, you want to go dry van, you need to make a list of all the companies that haul that type of freight, and then you need to figure out which ones have pet policies. That will narrow down your list quite fast, trust me. Now, once you figured out what companies actually have pet policies, you need to figure out what are their restrictions, requirements, and criteria for different animals. Most of them will have breed restrictions. I haven't found a company yet that allows pit bulls, Dobermans, Rottweilers, and anything that most people deem as a violent breed. Right? Funny thing is, I see lots of pit bulls out here on the road constantly. I think it's the most popular dog I see in trucks. Next to maybe like Chihuahuas, fuckload of Chihuahuas, little Pomeranians and stuff. A lot of pit bulls out here. Don't know, I have no idea what companies are allowing pit bulls. I haven't found one. I think there's a lot of people out here that just don't tell their companies and just take the dog with them. People that seem like they're company drivers. Owner-operators do whatever the hell they want. It's their truck. They could take the boa constrictor with them, But if you've got a pit bull, if you've got a Rottweiler Doberman, good luck. That's all I got to tell you. You know what I mean? But, if you've got a breed that is allowable, then you need to look at weight restrictions, because a lot of companies, they want 40 pounds and under, 30 pounds and under, 25 pounds and under. Like Rail is 60 pounds and under, which is great because my dog's 54 pounds. So that worked out well. They're gonna have, and as far as your dog's health requirements, I'm gonna talk about that for a few minutes. The company is gonna require you to not only have your dog or cat. You're most likely going to have a dog, but people have cats out here. They're going to need to be up to date on all of their vaccinations. You're going to need to have records of all those vaccinations. When they were done, they're going to need to be, I think, within the last 6 months, might be within the last 12 months. You're going to need those records. You're going to need a clean bill of health that's recent. Most companies want one that's done in the last month, I guess. So you're going to need to have them examined by a vet and given a clean bill of health. They're most importantly going to need to be vaccinated for rabies. That should be a given. So you're not only going to need a record of the rabies vaccination, you're going to need an actual certificate that you will get from the vet that your animal has been vaccinated for rabies. Most companies, every company I've talked to that has a pet policy requires this. It's also it's a requirement for interstate travel with an animal, regardless of if you're in a truck or not. This is really stuff that you're supposed to do anyway when you take an animal over state lines. Especially, like, you can't get into Canada without the shit I'm talking about. Your animal's going to need to be spayed or neutered also, for most companies, and to go into Canada. And, for that matter, once you go into Canada, to get back in, you're going to need all that same stuff. So what I did was I talked to my vet, and I explained to my vet what my intentions were. I'm going to take my dog on the road with me. I need every single kind of vaccination that she's going to need for interstate travel. Because depending on what state you live in, there are certain kinds of vaccinations that they don't do in your state. Like, that they may not even stock that vaccine in your state, but like the dog flu vaccine, never gotten it for my dog. We don't have a problem with that in Texas. Northern states have a problem with dog flu. So I got her vaccinated for the flu and stuff like that. Some of these vaccines they're booster shots. Some of them you got to get one, then you got to take them back 2, 3, 4 weeks later and get the next one. In the series, you got to get a series of shots done, or the first one's null and void. So keep that in mind. You need to get this stuff all taken care of before you take the dog with you on the truck. Their health needs to be in order. You need to have all the documentation with you at all times. Your company may request to see it as well. And your dog's gonna most likely, or your cat's gonna most likely they're gonna need to be spayed or neutered. Your animal should be spayed or neutered anyway, unless you intend to breed your animal. You should spay or neuter them, in my opinion. You don't want to be having puppies and kittens out on the road anyway. There's enough puppies and kittens in the world to go around anyway. Just go down to the shelter and pick you out one if you want one, for Christ's sake. But anyways, you're gonna need all that taken care of before you can even enter into the pet policy. Now, as far as people bringing pets on the road and not telling their companies about it, just say, I'm not even going to say anything to them, Wouldn't recommend it. Number one reason is because you have to pay money for that animal to be in the truck. It ain't free, Different companies have different setups. Rail has a pretty good setup. Like Western Express, they wanted $500, non-refundable. You do not get it back. With Rail, it's a $400 refundable deposit, and it's a damage deposit, which I will get back because my dog doesn't chew up the truck and destroy the truck and stuff like that. And a $250 non-refundable cleaning fee. That's per truck. So that's for this truck. I pay it in installments every week. I think it's $50 a week that I'm paying until it gets up to $650, which would be the $400 and the $250. If I switch trucks, I'm gonna have to pay another $250. I don't get that back. That's for the added labor cost of cleaning the truck. I get it. Animal shed. There's a lot of animal hair to deal with. I get it. It is what it is. But you need to keep that in mind as well. Maybe you don't have. Well, I mean, it comes out in installments. Some companies want that $500 up front. So you need to keep that in mind too. That's a question you need to ask. Can I pay this in installments, or do you want $650 up front? You may not have $650 burning a hole in your pocket. So you need to talk with the company. Like I don't recommend hiding your pet from the company. You need to make sure you go through their pet policy. If you're gonna bring an animal on the road with you. Let me see here. And as far as health goes, well, we're still talking about animal health, any kind of medicines, you're going to need, you need to get any kind of medicines your animal takes. You're going to need to get several months worth of that, in my opinion. I'm a runner. I stay out 2 to 3 months at a time. So I keep a 6-month prescription of, a monthly pill that I give my dog. It's Trifexis, and it's for heartworms and fleas and some other kind of worms, like intestinal worms or something like that. Your animal needs to be on either a pill, a monthly pill like I give my dog, a topical treatment. It needs to be on a treatment for heartworm and fleas. And I would recommend one for ticks. I don't have her on the tick treatment yet. Next time I re-up, I'm gonna upgrade to the treatment for ticks. Ticks is not such a big deal. That just means, you know, I gotta check her when she walks. After we come in from a walk, I gotta check her down with a flashlight and make sure I do keep tweezers with me for pulling ticks off her, because I've done it before. But treating against fleas and heartworms, absolute must. You need to understand, when you're gonna bring your dog on the road, you're not gonna be opening the back door and letting them run around the backyard anymore. That's over. That's done with. Now you're gonna, every time you walk them, it's gonna be on a leash, and it's gonna be out in the world. Maybe your dog doesn't need to be on a leash. Mine does, but regardless, wherever you're gonna be walking your dog out here in the ether, in the wild. You know what I mean? And there's all kinds of parasites out here. There is fleas out there in the high grass. Lots of high grass that hadn't been cut, never gets cut. Your dog's gonna want to be, you know, running around because there's rabbits and raccoons and all kinds of shit, squirrels running around leaving trails, and she can smell those animals and where they've been, so she will try to go off into high grass and brush smelling for these animals, deer and whatever. And there's lots of ticks, there's lots of fleas, and there's a shitload of mosquitoes. You'll know because when you go to walk them, they'll be biting the hell out of you. You'll be getting eaten up by mosquitoes, and you know they're biting her or him, whatever you got. You know, so you don't have them treated for heartworms, they'll probably get heartworms. You don't have them treated for fleas, you will probably have a flea problem. You know, you do not want to have a flea problem in this truck. Even whether or not the dog sleeps mine usually sleeps at the foot of the bed. Even if you have him sleeping on the floor, you get fleas in this truck, you got a fucking problem, a serious problem. You need to have your animal treated for these problems before they come on the truck. Absolutely mandatory. You know, I'm gonna up her to the one. There's one that they have that treats them for ticks as well. That keeps ticks off of them. I don't have that one. I'm gonna upgrade to that one. You know, if you're like me and you're not treating for ticks currently, you know, you're gonna need to be checking your dog for ticks. If they pick up a tick on the back bottom of their paw, right behind one of their pads, and that you don't catch that tick, they could end up with Lyme disease, or they could end up with an infection. You know, not to mention, in the middle of the night, you know, they bring ticks in here, they could crawl off of her and crawl onto me, you know, and I could catch something, you know what I mean? So, and it's a pain in the dick looking for ticks all the time. So you need to have all that stuff squared away before the dog even gets on the truck. You know, you need to have all of that taken care of. You need to, there's a small list of things that you should bring with you before the dog gets on the truck. I'm mainly talking about dogs here. Cats a little different, you know. Not a big fan of cats anyway. But it is a pain in the ass to make it to a vet's office or a PetSmart or a Petco once you're running, you know, because it's just it's difficult, you know. If you need to take your dog to the vet, you got to make an appointment, and sometimes it's, you know, I haven't had to do it yet, but you got to think, like, you know, if you're running all the time like I am, you got to make an appointment. You know, it's almost impossible to make one during the week. You know, if you're running all the time, you really don't have time to stop in, and you got to plan out where you're going to be, you know, and then you got to try to, usually, like, all the stars would have to align for you to make an appointment at the vet. You know, oh, we don't have an opening till 4 o'clock. Okay, well, I'm not going to be, I'm only passing through this area at this time. So, you know, thanks. And that you'll call the next place, you know, hey, I'd like to schedule an appointment. And Okay, well, we don't have any openings that day. We can get you Saturday or something. Okay, well, I'm not going to be there Saturday. You know, I'm going to be in the next state over, you know? So you figure, oh, I'll take her on my reset on the weekend. Well, most vets offices are closed on Sundays, and Saturday they're booked like crazy. They're busy as hell. It's extremely difficult to get a vet appointment when you're on the road. It's best to just save that stuff for your home time. And plan it, make your appointment then, and plan it out then. You know, unless it's under, like, they need to go to the emergency 24-hour vet or whatever. Same thing with PetSmart and Petco. I don't like, the only thing I buy from Walmart, because I go to Walmart every week, is typically just dog food, because all the other stuff I need, you know, maybe a leash or dog chew toys and stuff like that, Walmart shit's cheap garbage. You know, I need to buy, she's a 54-pound dog, she's strong as all hell, and she could chew a hole in the side of this truck if she were so inclined. So if I buy cheap rinky-dink toys from Walmart, she'll chew through them in a matter of minutes and, like, be bored. So I have to spend good money on the extra heavy-duty chew toys that I can only find at PetSmart or Petco. You know, and it's difficult to get to those too. You know, usually I have to plan it out. I have to find me a Walmart along my route that I'm going to stop at, but I have to find one that has a PetSmart or Petco in that shopping center. I try to make it so that my dog doesn't interfere with what... I want to make it so that I do everything I would do if I didn't have the truck, or if I didn't have the dog in the truck with me. You know, I try to fit everything in there so she's not an interference, and it works out. It just, you have to plan. You have to plan very well for what you're gonna do. But there's things that you're gonna need to bring before the dog gets on your truck, so you're not trying to hunt this shit down when you actually get on the road. I would recommend 2 different types of leashes, especially if your dog is medium sized like mine. If you have a little small dog, it's probably not a big deal. You're going to need a retractable leash if you do walk your dog on a leash. Some states and some places have, municipalities, they have leash laws. Even if I don't ever need to leash my dog, take one with you, because you will get a fucking ticket from a state trooper. If state trooper cruising through a rest area, they will ticket you for not having your dog on a leash, regardless of how well behaved your dog is. There's municipalities, like truck stops you'll stop at. If a local police officer sees you, you know, if you're in a certain St. Louis or whatever city you're in and you don't have your dog leashed, they can and they will give you a ticket for that stuff. So at the very least, you need to have a retractable leash with you. That's what I walk my dog on. And I recommend having a short leash, you know, for times when I have a PetSmart, I think it is, or Petco sells a leash that has a handle at the end, at both ends, so that if I'm walking somewhere I need to keep her close, there's a handle that's down close to where her collar is on the leash. It's built in, it's in the webbing, so I don't have to wrap the leash up in my hand a million times. So I keep 2 leashes. You're gonna need the water bowl and the food bowl. I talked about those in another video, and I might talk about them again later. Of course, you're gonna need all your paperwork and stuff like that. Rail requires that you keep a cage, like a wire cage or a collapsible cage, any kind of kennel or cage on the truck with you, just in case the truck needs to go in the shop. They don't want the dog in the truck when the truck's in the shop. I have a kennel, which is in my F-250, to the back seat. It's too damn big for me to fit in the truck, so I actually need to... I haven't picked it up yet, but I'm going to probably in the next couple weeks when I go on home time or something like that. Get a small wire collapsible cage, keep it behind the passenger seat. It's a good idea to have that, just in case. You never know, you know, especially if you go to the shop. You know, I don't recommend just wrapping the leash around a pole and going inside somewhere. You know, if you're at a shop or wherever you're at, wouldn't recommend it, right? You also need to keep in mind, also, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about health, you may need to board your dog at a kennel temporarily in another state, somewhere in the country. And this can happen if your truck needs to go to the shop or needs repairs in Idaho or Utah or Massachusetts or someplace like that. and you're not near a terminal and they need to put you up in a hotel, they're probably going to put you in a hotel like the Best Western or someplace they have a discount. So, you know, and they're going to pay for it. But a lot of those hotels don't allow dogs. So you got a choice. You can board your dog at a kennel, or you can pay for, out of your own pocket, a hotel that's friendly for dogs, which doesn't make sense to me, because board the dog for $20, $25 a night, or pay $60, $70, $80 a night for a dog-friendly hotel, or just let the company pay for it. I would, like, at orientation, I boarded my dog for a week, which is a hell of a lot cheaper than paying for my own hotel room that's dog-friendly, you know, and having her stay in it all day. Now, the reason I bring this up is if you need to board your dog in another state, you need to find, there are certain states that require certain kinds of vaccines that maybe they don't issue in Texas, like the flu vaccine. But in Illinois or Indiana, they require your dog to have the flu booster shots. So really, if there's all kinds of vaccines that your vet may recommend, like, you don't really need for that region, get them anyway. Tell your vet, like, I need any and all vaccines that she may or may not need. Just go ahead and give them to him. You know, just go ahead and get them done. You know, like, oh, well, they have, you know, they have this vaccine for this certain strain of this certain disease, but that's only a problem in the Northwest. Get it for them, because you never know, you're going to be in the Northwest, they're going to need that vaccine. I would recommend, you're going to need to bring dog toys and stuff like that. You know, bring things that are going to keep them entertained. You know, that should be common knowledge. If you're a pet owner, you know, you need to bring whatever they're going to need on the truck with you. I'll probably maybe go into that stuff later. Now, I guess I'll kind of wrap up by saying, you know, does your dog have the kind of personality that can be on the road? You know, say your dog doesn't meet the breed restrictions. You know, it's not a restricted breed, and you can bring it on the road. Is it aggressive towards people? Most companies, regardless of breed, will not let you have an aggressive dog with you, and I just strictly wouldn't recommend it, you know, because people are going to approach your truck. Shippers, receivers, forklift drivers, crane operators, other truck drivers, whoever, law enforcement officers, maintenance shop personnel, they're going to approach your truck. You know, they may open the door so they could turn the lights on to check your lights. If that dog's going to lunge and rip their throat out, don't bring that dog on the road with you. I would strongly recommend that. You know, like, well, it's my guard dog. To each his own, man. I would not recommend that. My dog has never bit another person, is not aggressive towards people. She does have problems with other dogs sometimes. She gets defensive and territorial and shit. Never been that way towards people. That's the important thing. Also, I would not bring an animal out here that is not potty trained, that's not house trained. You know, my dog never once had an accident in the truck. My dog is actually ever since I've had her, if she needs to go to the bathroom in like the middle of the night at random for some reason, she'll actually wake me up. And she'll put her paws on my face, and when I wake up and look at her, she'll stare at me. And I know she needs to go outside. That's what it means. Never had an accident in the truck. I would not bring an animal on a truck with me that has accidents. Would strongly not recommend it. I don't like dealing with animal feces and urine. That's why I'm not a cat fan. Everybody I've ever known that's had cats, they just piss all over everything. Everything, their whole damn house just smells like ammonia all the time. The litter boxes, and cats will piss on everything for any reason they see fit. You know, I'm upset. I'm just going to pee all over everything. Oh, these are your clothes and shoes? I'm going to pee on them too. That's why I don't deal with cats. But even if your dog is not potty trained, I would not recommend bringing them in the truck. You know, this thing is too small. But that's just my recommendation. Trying to think if there's anything I missed. Those are all of the things that you consider before Sparky gets on the truck with you. You need to have all those things taken care of, and all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and all those situations before you bring the dog on the truck with you. So yeah, I guess that pretty much covers it for that. Probably make another video later talking about just the kind of logistics of living on the road with a dog, and daily routines, and just how the best ways to make sure your dog is getting what they need, meanwhile you're doing your job. Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, I live out here, I live in this truck, but I am still doing a job, and my dog cannot interfere with that. I do not want to become a problem with the company, because I have a dog with me, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about, like, what you should do, and how you should change your routine, and what it's going to be like, having a dog day to day on the truck and stuff like that. But I'll talk about that later. All right, talk to you guys later.